As a kid, I loved to draw with pencil on paper, trying to create expressive drawings with subtle details. And I remember sitting in the attic in front of my computer, messing around with MS Paint, trying to create some pieces of art as well. It was at this time that I fell in love with both the physical qualities of the world that surrounds us and with computers. About 70 years ago, in the 1940s, men began to develop the computer as a new type of tool. At first, these computers were only accessible to a small group of engineers, as they physically had to rewire the computer for every new task. Later on, with the development of software, a layer was added on top of this computer logic. This made it easier for people to understand, and thus more accessible to a larger group of people. Fast forward to today, when we look at the world around us, we see that with the presence of graphical user interfaces and touchscreen devices, virtually any person is capable to utilize computing technology. You see, with every step, we not only made it more accessible, but we changed the way we relate to these computing devices. Where at first, computing devices were big and scary-looking, seemingly useless pieces of electronics to most people. Nowadays, we have turned them into our own personal servants, being at our disposal whenever we desire. So, if we can already easily tell computers what to do, what's the next step in computing? I believe computers can go far beyond this. To me, computers are not merely a servant. They're an actual extension of myself. Whereas, as a human being, I'm capable of being creative or spontaneous, see connections, even when there might not even be none. A computer is very capable of dealing with large data sets and being very precise about it. By learning to program, or learning to speak the computer's language, so to say, I've managed to enhance my capabilities with those of the computer. And then it hit me. This could be possible for anyone. Not for everyone by learning how to program, but by coming up with a new type of language. In my work, I focused on doing just that. Together with a group of designers, I've developed a new type of language, not one of symbols or characters or numbers to program a computer, but a physical language of force, touch, and movement. The physical properties of the haptic engine, the tool I created, can be programmed. In this way, the same knob can change from a smooth turning knob to one with clicks in it, or one with a lot of resistance. Any type of force we experience in the real world can be replicated in this way. The force of touch, or haptics as we like to call it, is something we use on a daily basis to explore the world. When we page through a book, when we sense if a fruit is ripe, or when we tie our laces. And it is something we use to communicate. A pat on the shoulder, a kiss, or a first handshake. They all allow us to communicate a lot in the fraction of a second. Next to my work with haptics, it is valuable to note that computers are starting to become able to go beyond the binary. With the advancements and developments in AI, or artificial intelligence, computers are starting to learn to not only identify and classify, but understand more abstract notions. They start to understand different types of things or objects, people, pictures, sounds, and to some extent, even behavior. So, how could we combine these programmable physical responses, and how could these be combined with the computer intelligence? Where might they be applied? And how would this change our relationship with computers? It could already be in the simplest of products. Things we use on a daily basis. For example, a water tap. Every morning, when you wake up, you get out of bed, you have to reprogram the water tap or set the right configuration again. But what if the water tap could get to know your preferences, suggest what you might be liking that time of day? And what if we could start a dialogue with these water taps by using these haptics? By doing so, the water tap can start to evolve along with you. It can start to learn what you like. But it becomes much more interesting when we apply this kind of technology in a more dynamic context. A great example of this is a digital camera. Imagine a camera that gets to know what type of subjects you like to photograph. In real time, this camera can help you, with the help of haptics, to capture just the thing that you like. And it is at this time that when the borders between the intelligence of the camera and the user start to vanish. They blend. It's not merely about the intelligence of the camera or about the intelligence of the user. It's the combined intelligence of both that create this magic. And in this way, you will never miss a valuable moment. In the future, we would even be able to apply this to things like self-driving cars. And imagine driving in a self-driving car and with the haptics, trying to incorporate and negotiate just exactly what will happen, what kind of driving style. The relationship you have with that car could start to resemble things like a horse and a rider. It's never anymore about one or the other. It's always about the combined strength of both. Well, these are just some examples, of course, as we're starting to touch upon the capabilities of these types of technologies. Now I want you all to think about all the devices you have and think, do you want them to be your servants or an actual extension of yourself? Thank you.